Letter Public School Board meeting. And the first item is report from student representatives and student recognition.
Hello, I'm Adam Lewis and I'm a senior.
And I'm Jillian Searles, and I'm also a senior.
Can't believe you're seniors.
Neither. As we start the beginning of the year, we're happy to give you our first update on what's been happening at our school. Last night, high school volleyball had their first home game against Almond Bancroft. It was a close game, but ended in a loss for the Blackhawks. Conference games for the girls volleyball started last week at Bocelli. The girls play at home tomorrow against Gresham.
Last Friday, the high school boys softball team went on a long bus ride to 3 Lakes. A fan bus full of students also went to support the boys. It was a close game that ended as a loss for the Blackhawks. The boys have a game at home this Friday against Newman Catholic. Next week, homecoming events are starting. This Saturday, Powder Buff will start off homecoming week. On Thursday, the parade starts at 6 with a community pep rally and bonfire after. Friday, the homecoming football game starts at 4 p.m. Lastly, the dances from 8 to 12 on Saturday. The theme is Disco Fever. That's all we have, so thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Should be a fun dance.
Do you want to give them the outline?
The game should be handed
Oh,
out.
yeah.
This goes to be
Got
like the
Way
old
ahead of you,
days.
Donnie.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I wonder if they're gonna have a ball.
Yeah.
All right, next item is president's report. All members are in attendance. And our next board meeting is October 12th. So, move on to administrative reports. District Administrator report, Superintendent Vina.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to our meeting tonight. I'm very happy to report the first day of school on September 1st was a success. Staff at both buildings were excited to greet students and their families on Thursday morning, the 1st. I was able to spend time at both schools on both Thursday and Friday of our first week, and our school year got off to a very good beginning. As everyone in the room knows, this past week was one of the more challenging weeks, which we've experienced as a school district and community as a result of the sudden and tragic passing of one of our high school students. Over the past 10 days, the school has updated our Board of Education, staff, and families through emails and letters with the details about how we've responded to this crisis, and as well as how we've offered support to our students, staff, and the affected family. I'd like to take a moment in this meeting to publicly thank all of our staff and volunteers who supported our children this past week. Several members of the community have reached out through emails and phone calls as well, offering their words of encouragement and support. The school districts of Nakusa and Wisconsin Rapids immediately offered their counseling services if needed, and neighboring school districts from the Central Wisconsin Conference also have extended their expressions of support. I'd like to say a sincere thank you in particular to the following individuals who volunteered their professional services on Tuesday, September 6th. Ronnie Verwink, Sam Casey, Jeff and Carrie O'Connor, Tanya Callahan, Chris Hanton, and Paul Liebherr. The members of the administrative team are here in the room as well. Lisa, Kara, and Donna. They went above and beyond in supporting their staff, supporting their families. I was able to attend both buildings' meetings last Tuesday morning, and our building principals did an outstanding job. I'd also like to publicly commend Jennifer Moore and Heather Lazitza for the support that they gave at both of these buildings. They did an outstanding job. Turning the page to other district news. Our new school district website is up and running. A few errors have been discovered by staff and community members alike from the migration of information from the previous format, the old website, to the new website. If you've had a chance to take a look at it, one thing that came to mind that was brought up in one of our meetings was athletic information. Some of the athletic information was kind of buried. It was hard to locate. We've had 2 meetings with our CISA representatives to get our new website more functional, more practical. We have another one planned for next Monday. So we are planning on updating it and getting it looking and as functional as it can be. At the state level, I've got some very positive news to present out of Madison. To help address the needs of mental health and the struggle to attract and retain quality teachers in our public schools, Governor Evers used his executive authority to allocate approximately $90 million from the Federal American Rescue Plan Act to our public schools on Tuesday, August 30th. How does that impact us locally? The Port Edwards School District is scheduled to receive about $41,000 to be used for academic resources and approximately $15,000 for mental health services. We are scheduled to receive this funding later this fall. The district's federal E-rate reimbursement for technology purchases and services have been updated. Lisa Miller and myself have been working with our district's consultant, and the E-rate forms and contacts for our district are now up to date. Today, Mrs. Miller and I also had another meeting. We had a virtual meeting with a Debbie Brunette from the Baird Financial Company. We reviewed the financial database and spreadsheet program that Baird uses for our district, the projected tax levy for next calendar year, and we also began taking a very initial look at a timetable of work for the 2024-25 school year. Finally, the Wisconsin Association of School District Administrators presented their state level committees today. I will be serving for Port Edwards on the Rural and Small Schools State Committee for the 22-23 school year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any
Mr. Duncan.
discussion or idea of what the 15,000 for mental health will be used?
Not yet. There certainly will be a lot of conversation, a lot of planning, but we have not had those conversations yet. One of the ideas that has come up in our just very organic conversations last week was bringing in some professionals or speakers to talk about responding to difficulty, responding to adversity, hope, resilience, things of that nature.
Well, with the situation the past week and with this being a continuous problem and having read about similar things with higher rates of incidents once one event occurs, Malcolm Gladwell wrote an entire book about it. About having the availability of a counselor who could come in and meet with a student who may not feel comfortable talking to a parent or trying to make arrangements themselves to talk to somebody for crisis intervention.
Yes. We have had those conversations, myself, the principals, with our building counselors. I don't know the actual term, but the repetition of it happening again and the probability of it happening at a higher frequency once it does occur. We have had those conversations, and our counselors, they have contacts in the region here of other professionals in their field that can come in at a moment's notice, I would say. So we are aware of that and prepared for that, I would say, Dana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions? Alright, next report is elementary principal report. Principal Christie.
Alright, as Mr. Venus said, our first day went really well. Our theme this year was Yes to New Adventures, so we all had t-shirts reflecting that, and then in front of the school we had our everything from kayaks and skis and a little fake campfire that kids could have their picture taken with, and as you walked in you could see the paint on the window that Ms. Grayway did, which was fantastic. If you look on our bulletin board back here, that has each of the teachers' names and a place they would like to go, not a place where they have been. After you see the names of the places, you'll know why none of us could afford to go there. Took me forever to find Bora Bora in the middle of the Pacific, but we found it. So that's our theme for this year, and it went great. Great first day. Over the past week or so, I have been doing my principal classroom visits that I like to do every year. In K3, I usually read a book. This year I read him a book called The Smart Cookie. It's really cute. It's about an actual cookie that learns what he's good at, and then each of the kids told me what their smart cookie's at. And we have a lot of very smart cookies. They like to talk about what they're good at that age. And then in grades 4 and 5, we start the 5 R's. We talk about being respectful and responsible, so that way they hear that a lot. So when they get to the middle school, they already have 2 of the 5 down, and we talk about how they're the leaders of the school now and the kids look up to them and remember when you were, you know, in kindergarten, what did those 4th and 5th graders look like to you? So they get all puffy and excited to be the leaders for the year. We also had our bus evacuation today. We had the 2 officers came, as well as 2 of our predators officers, as well as obviously the bus company. We had, speaking of leaders, we had a couple of our 5th grade leaders help the kiddos out the back of the bus, had them sit in the bus, talk about bus safety, have them do the evacuation, and that all went well. A couple that were a little scared to jump, but they were helped them down. So so we've had a great beginning to the year.
Alright, any questions?
Are there safety patrols this year?
No, so what happened was last year, we had started the safety patrol with our SRO, and then our SRO schedule was constantly changing, as we know, and Christy Bossert took it over as the crossing guard, but then she was no longer the crossing guard, we didn't know who the new crossing guard would be. We also had some parents with the drop-off pickup stuff with the kids having to come early, stay late, that was an issue. There were a lot of like little things that got in the way, so we're going to try to find some other leadership group for those kids that they can do. We kind of talked about that, because they had asked why safety patrol was gone. And we said, well, we gave it a shot for a year, but we have other ways that we're gonna have you be leaders this year. So we're gonna use a lot of opportunities to have them show leadership roles. That corner actually got a little almost crowded with the safety patrols plus the crossing guard. That was another reason. So, but we still have them putting up the flag. 5th grade, we have coming down to say the Pledge of Allegiance, doing a lot of those safety patrol duties as leadership duties, just not as official safety patrols. So.
Thanks.
Thank you. Next is the middle school, high school principal report, Principal Trotta.
All my fun things are gonna be shared by the kids probably now, so. When I prepare for, board meetings, I like to think of something that you might not find out a lot about. So I'm coming to you, and I wrote up really good notes, so I'm gonna kind of almost read from them. I've talked to you about the programs that we've offered, and education is looking different than probably when you were young or I was young, right? We went to school 8 to 3:30 and that was it, right? And so I've come to you talking about all the programs that we've tweaked and found and researched. For example, we have mid-state classes. We even have some kids that often go to Point for college classes, or now we're doing dual credit. We've had kids that are on apprenticeships, half days. So all of those programs. But we also have had to look for at-risk students that might be in danger of graduating. So prior to this, we have inquired at Wisconsin Rapids for their charter school, and we've often looked to Nakusa for help with their academy when they started it. Of course, when we send them and we save the child and they graduate and we do everything we need to do, that comes at an expense. So we've been looking at a program with Midstate for HSED for students that weren't gonna graduate here. And we looked at it and we thought, wow, because we have to pay for the student pupil count, right, to go there and provide transportation. And so at the last minute, Jen Moore and I were talking, and we thought, what would it take to house here at our school? And sometimes this could mean a student or two, and then for a year or two, nobody, right? So it's not a for sure, but it's something you'd like to keep in your schoolhouse. So we inquired about the Guido 2, which stands for General Education Diploma Option 2, instead of going to get an HSED. So why do this? Research will show you that the student can stay in-house. They're comfortable with their peers, they want to be at the school, they're comfortable with their teachers. You have to apply for an application with the state through the DPI. So we did that in 4 days.
Applied on a Thursday, we were back on Monday.
And they talked us through that. They were actually really, really good. So first, the students got the best program that we can probably offer, for our school. And 2, it's fiscally responsible. So the program that we were going to send a student out was going to cost us $8,000, and that's not including the tests that they have to take and achieve at the end, and transportation. Do I take them, or does Mr. Neve have, So we had a lot of things to work out yet. So those were 2 bonuses. So we looked into it, we applied, we did get accepted. So now we reworked the schedule, and Mrs. McMillan, I want to thank Jen Moore. She did a lot of legwork on the application, and this was kind of in a hurry. Miss Amy McMillan, our at-risk coordinator, who's taught for 26 years, will be in charge of this program. She has actually done it before in her previous life. So we pulled out all old books and went through it and updated everything through, did the DPI, 26 years, I should say. She normally does our at-risk and our credit recovery, so this is kind of in her world. She's very comfortable with it. We are developing a program, with the state set to standards, obviously. So our program this year will look, it'll have 15 hours and with a bunch of tests. We still might have to get the tests from Midstate or send her there for the testing, the individual. But it'll be 15 hours, and they can have 5 hours of electives. So they could take their credits with Miss McMillan and maybe take a break and go to art or go to band or choir. And then also is community service they have to include in this, and job opportunities. So you develop all of that. It's kind of a whole set program. So we'll be keeping the students here with our teachers, with our kids. They're happy, parents are happy. Not a different expense in the school world. So we hope to be doing that when needed. And it's eligible for students that are juniors and credit deficient, and we won't be able to pull that off. So it's not, and the students will be able to graduate with this program, and it'll just be different on the transcript, noted.
If I may,
Sorry.
I was just gonna say, we had this program here 15, 20 years ago when I was teaching Judy Schrader, myself, and Paula Baziner. We helped the children through this program. A handful of children would take it. And it just lapsed as staff left and different administration came in. It lapsed, and now we've got it back again. But it is several $1,000s we're gonna save per student by having this in our building as opposed to having them go to Midstate. Several thousand,
So we have 1 student
just one right now.
that's right now.
And like this Warren and I talked about, like we might go a year where there's nobody, and then there might be a year there was 3.
Right.
And so you're looking at $25,000 to ask
Could be.
a bordering school to help us, or Midstate, or and sometimes we don't have the resources. Like, that sounds silly to drive somebody 10 minutes, but where and how in the day too. So little things. So this just felt like sometimes we think smart on short notice. The other thing I want to, Jackie Esselman from Midstate came to, we've got a new advisor or go-to person for our dual credit classes in Midstate. And she caught me off guard, and Jim was down the hall, and they chose us, Port Edwards, on December. We don't know what we're getting into yet. Because of all the quick, success we've had and numbers we've had and programs we've been doing, they have to have like an audit. And so just January 29th and 30th, they'll be bringing people from Midstate to kind of talk to our teachers, interview us, meet with Ms. Moore, and just see how we develop the program and what we do and what they need to help us with, because they're our partner, right? So I was kind of, she said, oh, we picked Port Edwards. I'm like, okay.
That's
So I'll
awesome.
probably give her a report.
So how many hours of the day does that student then spend in
It's 15.
it's 15
A week.
hours
Yes.
for the
A week.
Yes, a week.
a week?
So this year we're gonna go 3 every day, because that's what fit the schedule, and there's some interest in art and like those kind of 1 hour she or he can do that. And then job opportunities and community service. So it's like you could do that in the morning or afternoon, we've got to make it work in our schedule first and then fill all those other pieces in. So the job can actually even happen from 5 to 9, and you just got to keep record of all of it. And it's there's a lot to follow and make sure we're doing, and it's updated from a long time ago, but
It's much more electronic.
I have like a 35-page document, listing all the, and it should be too, right?
Yeah.
So, yep. We're learning, but we read a lot in a week.
Very good program.
Questions?
Sounds awesome, Donna.
Yeah, it's probably very good. It's good.
Thank you.
All right, next, questions and comments from people in attendance. There was no wishing to talk, so we're moving on to consent agenda. Number 8, take a motion to approve the minutes of the past meeting of August 17th.
Moved.
Second?
Motion and a second, any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Number 9, consider approval of financial reports. We have gifts.
Yes, as you saw, I gave you several thank you cards today. So Tina Melvin reported to me that the elementary received a donation of sidewalk chalk and lots of school supplies from Ka and Jeremy Baumgart. They also received another donation of school supplies from Dustin and Jessica Lees. The Port Edwards United Methodist Church this summer is when we received a donation for $300 to the school library. Mrs. Joan Palin donated $310, which was for the refurbishing of the baseball field sign. We got a new one out there and she wanted to take care of it, so
Very nice.
that was nice of Joan. We also received our annual $1,000 gift from our donation, Partners in Education Funding from Solaris. We get that each year. And Renaissance Learning, also we received a $1,000 donation for the 22-23 school year.
Very good.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any other discussion? Alright, roll call, please.
Let's go Kathy McGrath,
Yes.
John Dobbin,
Aye.
Dana Duncan,
Aye.
Carrie Hildebrandt. Yes. Leo Thomascar.
Yes.
Alright. Motion is approved. No unfinished business tonight, so move on to new business. Number 11, consider approval of 660301 agreement with the Nakusa School District.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Are these just, we just use the same form every year?
Unless things change legally,
Yeah,
we can.
The numbers change inside, I mean, it depends on what the needs of that child is, but usually it's pretty standard. They should update it with the,
Just the lawyer in me, when was the last time council reviewed them for any issues of legality?
I don't know, that 6603 form is,
Is that something from the
That's-
state?
is that a
You
state
just
form?
print
I
off
assume.
and-
I think it's a state.
it's the same
document.
form that I've
Just-
seen ever since I've been
Yeah.
Okay,
seeing.
the only reason I ask
6603.
is because village board was using a form for fire departments and fire service. And I looked at it and said, this isn't right, and we found out that we were running a risk of potentially not having insurance coverage.
Yeah, that's a state statute.
I would,
type.
yeah, it is,
So I think that would be funds.
that's a Nakusa sends it to us,
Yes.
so,
Oh, okay.
yeah, like they
Alright,
generate,
well,
they generate the
that's
report,
fine,
they
just was-
generate that.
I just wanted to make sure that we weren't covering something that should be.
Alright. Take a vote, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Item 11, to receive the 21-22 seclusion and restraint report.
Does everyone have a copy of this?
Did you share
I
this
can
out,
just pass it
Lisa?
around.
I did not, I printed it though, and I can run it.
I think I have
We
I
can
may
just
have,
pass.
I may have copies of it as well.
Let me just run it real quick, we can let you chat about it.
Sure, so every year, we are required to report any incidents of seclusion or restraint for a child. That basically means that any time that an adult would put hands on a student, either to restrain them or seclude them. Our teachers who do that, any of our staff that does that are CPI trained, so basically they go through a very extensive training as to the very specific ways that they can hold or not hold a kiddo who's having some struggles physically or emotionally, usually it's emotionally. So we come and report every year. Luckily, we've had very few incidents. When we do have an incident, there's a lengthy report that anyone involved fills out. The parents are notified immediately, and they also have that report sent to them as well, so they know immediately what has happened, or if a kid needs a break and is, throwing a fit in a room, and we just need to keep them in there until they can calm down. We fill out our seclusion form, and so the parents are notified immediately. So this is, we have one incident at the elementary, one at the middle, and so this is the submission for the previous school year.
I've asked this question before and I don't remember the response, so bear with me. Under this law, what happens if there is an incident in an area, hallway, classroom, common area, proximate to a staff member who is not certified?
Correct, they are not allowed to touch the student.
So
They are
whatever the kid is doing,
We clear the room, we clear the area, we get the kids out of the way. So if it's in a classroom, for instance, we clear the room
okay,
until someone can get there who is certified, and there's enough people that it's within seconds. So yes, correct. You have to be CPI certified to be able to do that.
if there's a chance of imminent harm or
The
physical
only,
damage.
okay, here's a perfect example. If I see a kid about to run out the door and there's a train, I'm grabbing them and they can take me to DPI jail and I can explain
Okay.
to the state later. I mean, that, obviously, there are incidents where if there is something going on and your reaction is to, like I said, stop a kid from getting hit by a train, I'm grabbing that child. I am not gonna,
Like I had a kid pick up a desk
Yeah.
and he was gonna throw it at another kid.
Yeah.
No.
You're referring to
or
self-defense.
he's gonna
Yeah.
climb
that
up,
is,
he's gonna climb up a
Acceptable.
bookshelf and pull the
Correct.
bookshelf down on
and
top
to,
of
and
him.
other people, and you had no time to clear the room or
Right.
whatever, different, because then
Okay,
you're, it's
right.
the safety of
So
everyone around.
there is a modicum of common sense in this.
Absolutely,
Okay, I'm just
Yeah.
making sure I understood
This is a
that,
law created in Madison?
well, I understand, yeah, this is, I'll respect you in the morning, check is in the mail, all that. Okay.
It parallels kind of the Good Samaritan.
yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
that would be under like kind of the good scenario.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I wanted to clarify in my own head that we don't have to have the expectation that our staff is standing by watching a kid
Correct,
No.
commit
no, right.
harm to others or to
No.
himself,
Where this comes from
just because the
is,
certification isn't there.
right, and where this comes from is basically stemming from students who are having some major behavior issues and being restrained or secluded in a room too much too often.
Right.
And so that's where this came from.
Absolutely.
So that's what they focus on, talking kids down who are elevating. And the training actually goes through way more of those things than the actual holds. An incident like you're talking about, that's a little different, so.
I mean, that's
Probably reported differently too.
As well,
Yes.
I mean,
correct.
that's a bona fide emergency.
It's
That is a
actually
bona
on this
fide, call the
report.
police
No.
and take
Oh, yeah.
care of it and so on
Yeah.
and so, yeah, absolutely,
Is
yeah,
it a
I'm not
goal to
talking,
get
I'm not
everyone's
talking about a
report?
child
right,
who's pouting in the corner and won't go to lunch.
right, Right.
That's, I'm not concerned
Right.
about that.
right, exactly.
Okay,
John,
thank you.
had a
Is it a goal or get everyone trained in the building or
We
it's
have almost
up
everyone
to the individual?
trained. We are trying to now align it because training is very expensive. We used to have, when Diaborski was here, she was a certified trainer. Now we have to pay per staff member for this training, through CISA. What we're trying to do is align it because some of our middle school, high school people were trained in the spring, some of our elementary people were trained in the fall. We're trying to align it and get that together, or potentially find someone here that would go through the training, so that we could have train the trainer, and that would save us a lot of money in the long run.
Yeah,
We did that in
percentage?
my former district. We trained the trainer with an administrator, and instead of paying about $1,500 each time the individual had to be trained, we sent them to CISA. We would do it in-house for nothing. We'd pay $5,000 up front, and then
Right.
we'd save $1,500 each employee. So,
Yep.
we've had those conversations.
The other thing is, we have 5 in-service days, and like, those are packed right now to review testing and, oh my gosh. And so that's a whole day now, like it's a 9 to 3.
It's a 6-hour training.
Yep, 9 to 3.
6 hour,
Yeah.
6-hour training.
But you're looking at fitting nothing hardly in that day.
School calendar hasn't been decided yet.
We're gonna be going year round.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
We need a
clarifying that.
motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Alright, it's approved. Number 12, consider approval of JV boys basketball coach Dave Gibbs.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all
He's
those.
kind of replacing a legend in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was away.
I don't know who that guy was. He was,
Yeah.
he was a pretty good guy.
You can still sit in the stands.
Alright, with that, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion is approved. Next item, opportunity for individual board member comment. Kathy.
I just want to thank all of the new staff that have come to our district this year and glad that they chose Port Edwards to be their home for hopefully a long, long time. And I was also happy to see, reading over all the board documents that we get, that our environmental learning center has been used by someone in the public. And, you know, I don't know if people are really aware that they can rent that nice facility and do things, you know, at any time of the year, but someone chose it for this summer, so that was another nice
And they
thing.
stopped here to ask directions today on their way there. It is not easy to find on Google Maps. I don't know how to fix that problem,
Oh,
but we have a lot of people sometimes stop here and
And
ask
ask.
how to get there.
yeah.
They
I don't
think
know if
this
you
is
get
it.
a sign or something.
There is one.
There is one.
There is one that says you'll see, but it's not very big.
Yeah.
Maybe we need a bigger one out.
There's kind of a mixed blessing there, because given its remote location geographically, this is great from an environmental standpoint.
Right.
You don't want to be having environmental activity too close to a lot of noise and hubbub. On the other hand, you don't wanna make it excruciatingly evident that it's there, because then you have the opportunity for surreptitious nighttime visits with things happening having nothing to do with the learning goals of the district, to put it bluntly. By the way, how are we coming on the repairs to the deck on the learning center?
Have not
Anything-
got any updates about it recently from,
Okay.
Building and Grounds. I don't think they've worked on it recently.
If we're going to have the public out there for gatherings and meetings and whatnot, and the underpinnings of the deck have issues, we probably should,
Is that gonna happen over the
Address
summer? Was
that.
that the original?
that's why I asked, I didn't
There
know.
was a large group of people out there today. I didn't hear any negatives, at least not yet.
We were advised by Mr. Neve in the spring that
That
the
might be done.
footings,
They did work
for
out there
that,
2 days and they went and got
Maybe
some
it's done.
supplies. They were out there.
okay, the footings for the deck.
Before
just
Jim
didn't-
got here, I
Maybe
think
they
it
just didn't
was.
tell me.
Yes. I think.
In June?
yeah.
No, they might have been early on.
Good.
Maybe in June they
Could
did that.
could you inquire about what the story of that is and let us know?
Certainly.
I mean, we should probably have that fixed before the ground freezes. So,
I think it is fixed.
okay,
And I can verify that.
that's fine.
Right, Dana?
I will say that does make a nice venue for a wedding. My daughter got married there, so, and somebody was very insightful by putting that French door in, because it made a perfect place for the altar and to open it so that it had the light.
Oh.
And it went, like you would look into the woods.
That's nice.
So that person needs to be patted on the back.
Architect.
I pushed for it.
Oh.
So, anyway, without having any anticipation of that event, but anyway. I don't know how, well, let's put it this way. It's seldom that I'm at a loss for words and have difficulty expressing. But, this past week, I had a lot of difficulty simply because I know the ramifications of these events on families, on friends. And sometimes you don't know what to say to people. And maybe the best remedy is not to say anything, but just to be available. And I just hope that we are more cognizant of these situations in the future, because it's more than tragic, so.
Alright, Gary?
Good to see the students back here and the board members, or in the board meetings, that's nice to see. And just, good to see everybody's support for Austin.
Ditto on everything else that everybody else has said. Having a small school and living in a small, closely knit community is a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing in that when things are really bad or really good, everybody plays a role. It's a curse because when things are really good or really bad, everybody plays a role. There's nowhere to hide. The level of support and reaching out that has been done across the board is spectacular. Nothing anybody can say, will be adequate to dissuade the grief or the hurt that's being felt by so many. Things are really raw, and time will eventually modify some of that. But we just all need to be conscious of looking out for each other and do the very best we can to be kind and to be supportive.
Yeah, I echo those comments, and hard start to the school year, but thanks to all the staff and all administrators and teachers and the community, everybody that gave support during this time. We'll get through it. So with that, establish future board meetings. Wednesday, October 12th is the regular board meeting. And Monday, October 24th is our budget hearing and annual meeting at 6 o'clock. And then November would be November 9th. Nobody has any problems. November 9th will be a November meeting, and I will probably not be here for October.
Okay.
On vacation.
For the regular board meeting.
For October 12th.
Okay, so I'll make sure I'm
Yeah,
available.
October 12th.
I may not be here for the November opportunity to have a free trip to Florida. There you go.
Okay. With that, call for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned.